So as I get ready to roll out the door here, I come across the Diddy situation on TV. So it looks like they've charged him for some things, and then there's one thing that they're maybe undecided about. I'm not really sure. I kind of just got a sneak peek of it. But then I thought to myself, in my opinion, this could be completely off or wrong, but I feel like there's some validity to what I'm saying here. And trust me, just stay with me. It'll all come together. I promise. Um, as I, read through some of the things and then like go on my merry way, I start to think to myself, when was it illegal to be sexually deviant? Like never. That's not a thing unless you're obviously hurting people, and being violent and all those things. Obviously, I think he did get some things with domestic violence or something like that. Um, so yeah, that would be not great. And then but in order for them to be prosecuted, I assume they have to be somebody would have to like press charges against them or something. I think I don't know how the law works, so you'll just have to bear with me when it comes to that. But don't quote me on that. Nevertheless, like I said, it's not illegal to be sexually deviant. I feel like people have already spoken about this before, and they're probably in the same boat as I am. Like it's not illegal to do some of those things, and to be a very sexually explicit person. Obviously, if you're not hurting anybody, like that's your prerogative. You can do what you want, live your life. But for us that like to see things from a higher perspective, myself included, I think that with this, hypothetically speaking, I think that what this could truly be, possibly be from a higher perspective, could be, kind of, I don't know, the matriarchy or whatever the social terms are, or the politically correct terms are, um, for this situation. The matriarch or whatever is probably, they probably could be using him as an example to kind of set the tone for the male gender in general. I feel, in my opinion, I should say that. That's how I feel. Like, if I was looking at it from a higher perspective, which I am, in a positive lens, I would say that he's probably just being used as an example for men as a whole on how not to be. So, for me specifically, I've met a lot of sexual forward men, and they are, I'm going to try to say this without sounding, like that person, but they're weaker minded people. They are easily persuaded or coerced into things that are not in their best interests. They have clouded judgments. They're not leaders. The list can go on. You know what I'm saying here, or where I'm trying to go. And that is a problem for our society, obviously, because we need men or masculines to be in those roles, and we need them to have strong mindsets. We need them to have strong mindsets. Otherwise, shit doesn't get done. In my opinion, that's how I feel about it. I should have clarified that. I'm trying not to make it a generalization, but from my perspective and trying to look at this from a higher perspective, shit doesn't get done when men are distracted by their downstairs member, just to keep it PG-13. So if I was the universe, the cosmic forces, or whatever you believe in, I would have used him as an example for the rest of the male species and say, hey, you need to get yourself under control. So I told you this was all going to come together. It's about self-control. That's what I was alluding to. Males and females, honestly, males especially though, because we need them to fill those roles that I mentioned before. We need you to be strong-minded. We don't need you to be distracted by stupid shit like that. We need you to have some self control and some self respect. Jesus Christ. Some self respect and some self control, because when you're not doing that, the Diddy situation, stuff like that happens to you, and we don't need you. We don't need you doing that. We don't need you involved in those kinds of things. We need you getting shit done and standing on business. That's what we need. That's it.